as you continue to see this transformation taking place, it's important to see that it's decimating certain businesses and creating new opportunities. So the question is always, how then do we position ourselves to make sure that the winds are in our direction and we are prepared for the change in the direction of the wind? Because it's one thing to notice the wind, which we are all doing, but are we prepared for it? Because you see, opportunities wait for no man. They come through in the presence of everyone to see, and they manifest themselves. Some notice the opportunity, and they notice the opportunity fleeting away. Some talk about the opportunity. Some make theories about the opportunity, and some castigate the opportunity. So here is the dilemma that we have. We are all seeing opportunity on the arena. Obviously, as you can see, there are theorists who think that this is an opportunity. Others who will say, no, this is not an opportunity. We need to hide. So it depends where you are. But whatever happens, the opportunity is here with us. All we need to do is to review our position and see where we are standing. Whether where we are standing positions us to be able to grab the opportunity, or even notice that there's an opportunity here and take action. Because otherwise the opportunity passes. An opportunity waits for no man, but it does come well and good for the man who is prepared, who has been waiting for the opportunity to arrive, who will be ready to harvest and to take advantage of the wind and glide with the wind. So where are we? How do we succeed? Obviously, there has been formulas of people who have succeeded in the past. So we want to learn from them. We can categorize people who have succeeded into three groups. But each of those three groups are not impossible. What I'm talking about is not going to be something outside that you have never had. It's that we want to reflect on it because it has been used over and over again by many other people to succeed who came after the people who have succeeded even before. Because the formula has been always been there. For example, the people who have succeeded in the past, they've always been either inventors. And often when we think of inventors, we are thinking of people who have come up with something new. And that is true. Inventors are people who came up with something new. And inventing is tough. It requires a lot of creativity. You need to be able to be creative and register a patent, produce the thing that you are wanting to invent, and market it and bring people to buy it. Because otherwise you can invent something people don't want. But whatever your invention should be, it should be able to solve a problem. But often when we talk about invention, one of the things that put people off about the invention is the thought that they think that they are not themselves intelligent to come up with an invention because they are always looking to themselves. They are always looking at their geniusness to see whether they can come up with something novel. And they're always thinking about science. They're thinking astrophysics. They're thinking of nuclear physics, things that they think they will never be involved in. But here is one of the things that I've come to know about inventors. Most people who invented things, especially in the 19th and 20th century coming to where we are now, have never been actually themselves scientists. They have worked with people who were scientists, and what they have done is they financed the invention. After they financed the invention, they patented the invention because they are the ones who have financed it. It's theirs. They have the right to the thing that has been invented because they have financed it and they've supported the person who was actually working and doing the work. If you go back into history, you find that those people, they are plenty plus, but the actual person who actually did the work, sometimes they are maybe recorded together, or sometimes the person is not even recorded who actually initially came up with that thing. Whereas if you look back, people were inventing for themselves and for their own name and to solve their own problems. But the modern day inventor is not doing that. He is not himself a scientist. He's not the one sitting in the lab and coming up with this thing. No, he's not. So I want us to keep that in mind. When we think about invention, we are not necessarily thinking of us sitting and doing it. For example, I can give you an example of one person who is called James Dyson. He invented a vacuum cleaner. James Dyson invented a vacuum cleaner, and also there was someone who's called Zakai who invented a mop. But what he did was that he was not the original person who invented the mop. He just perfected the mop that was there. But what did he actually do? He's not the one who actually sat down and spent time trying to test the mop. He had people he commissioned people to do some additional work. So what is this call that I'm making? This call that I'm making is that each and every one one of us, as we move around and spot opportunities, we need not to think of those opportunities as if they are difficult to achieve. All we need to do is to think like an inventor and say, if it was me who is supposed to bring this to life, what would this mean? It means that you are going to make sure that the person that you have identified on the street trying to make a helicopter, for example. We've seen people who are that genius. They're trying to make a helicopter and the helicopter can almost struggle and fly. Why don't you then talk to that person and make that invention a reality? We meet these things, and these people who are coming up with these ideas, they don't have money or support or guidance. All we just need to do is to identify them and become co-inventors, support their cause, and you and that person's name become co-inscribed on that invention. This is how other people have become inventors. They have not been themselves astrophysicists. They were just there to make sure that they get the core right to be recognized in that piece of work. So as an inventor, you need to either be the person actually inventing it or bettering what someone else did. So for example, Zakai invented a mop. He improved on the mop that was already in existence. Is this very difficult? No, it's not difficult. All you need to do is to find some people who will test something, because you have seen them trying to come up with something, or they are not even thinking about it. In this COVID environment, let's always look for opportunities. Opportunities come, but sometimes we are not thinking about those in that particular sense, what we meet and how we interact with it. For you to be an inventor, you need to have work ethic. There are certain core behaviors, we'll talk about them later on, that you need to have. You need to have a work ethic. If you see things casually and think of things casually, obviously you will miss the opportunity. You will meet the opportunity, but you will miss it. You will not recognize it. So it's very important for you to be able to have an eye that recognizes that this can be a hit in the market. But if you are not going to pay attention to those things, you meet opportunities, you pass them, and only to hear that so and so who met the opportunity that you left made big business out of it. And you said, no, I was the first to meet that person who was trying to do this. But obviously, you are late. It doesn't help. What is important is to be able to identify something and take action. If it's an invention, have your name inscribed on there as well. But you need to contribute to the process so that that invention becomes a reality. But you might say, maybe invention is too much for me. How about if you just innovate? So innovation is slightly different from invention. So innovation is where you see a situation. And when you see a situation, you consider the current market and find a creative way of providing the service that is being offered on the market. So the service or the product is there, but you need to find a creative way of providing the same service or product in a more creative way than it is being offered. Is it difficult? Yes, it is, because that is what creates understanding of the market. It is equally difficult just as inventing is. But innovation is very important for a person who's going to be involved in any business. Whereas invention, you might not necessarily need to be a business person for you to be an inventor. You just need to come up with something. But if you are going to innovate, you are the guy who looks at things and say, how does this help the market? Is the way that it is being offered the right way? Is there any better way? Ask those questions. You look at the processes around a particular service, and then you start identifying where are points of success, points where you need to improve either the process, the efficiency, the product itself, or the way the service is offered, or what competitors are doing. It's a more rigorous process. So here is the COVID environment. Let's come to where we are. As we look at all these changes being forced upon people, people are worried, people are complaining about many things. How do we make sure that we take advantage of the situation? If you join the people who are complaining, you miss opportunity to take advantage of the moment. Look at this as an opportunity to be able to offer whatever you are offering to the market in a different way. Often we look for answers from somewhere and we're thinking the answer should be complicated enough. Let's not discard the simpler solutions. Let's look at all the options and put them on the table. See, one person told me that if you are coming up with solutions for something that you think should be innovative, try to write 20 reasons or 20 ways of doing something that you are already doing in a different way. He says, by the time you actually start getting to number 18, 19, whatever you come up towards the end is likely to be the most effective. Whatever you think very early is likely to be the most common thing that everyone does. But human nature doesn't always think to that extreme. People are always presented with many choices. So the ones that come first are the ones that they dwell on. So in like manner, let's look at options that are available to us. Let's train ourselves to see if we were to not get any income today, what would we do? Take a whole week trying to write 20 options, probably run out of ideas the first day and the second day, and even the third and fourth day, you might probably not write even one idea. It's similar to writing books, writing novels, writing articles. I write articles. So one of the things that you find if you are a new writer is that, for example, if you're writing a novel or you're writing a textbook, is that in the first few days of your journey into being an author, is that you struggle to find what to write. For example, writing a novel, you probably write a paragraph and you run out of what to write after writing half a page. And you're imagining, okay, so if I'm running out of what to write after half a page, how am I going to come up with a full novel? But writing is a process. Innovation is a process. It's something that you need to do. Because you see, being good is common. The people who succeed have to be great. But being great and excellent takes time. It is a process of concerted effort of trying to improve each and every day. So we want you to move from being good to excellent, and then you become great. Everyone is trying to do good, and the majority of the people are good. And good is expected to be normal. There's nothing outstanding about being good. It's common. So if you are going to stand out, you need to innovate. Look at the situation here in this COVID environment and identify opportunities that are available to you. Don't look for opportunities that are difficult for you to reach, because if you are looking at opportunities that are difficult for you to reach, you will not do anything. You will say, no, I don't have a lot of money. Work with what you have. See opportunities of offering what you already have and see how ideas will be able to transform another person's way of life. There's plenty of money available. Only if you can work hard to find an innovative way of offering exactly the same product you are offering to more than one person, to serve a different purpose, to reach a different market. All that is important. So I was just trying to reflect on the time that we are in, referring to the formulas that we already know for succeeding, and using these formulas to be able to see what is around us that we can take advantage of. People are never short of resources. People are really short of ideas, because resources in life are never the problem. You see, people say they don't have money. That is not necessarily true, because money doesn't reside with the person who doesn't have ideas. Money resides with the person who has ideas. What we actually lack is not money. Money is a resource. It's like a table. You only get a table if you have an idea of bringing it to your room. So what we lack is ideas. Our biggest effort in the investment should be in identifying ideas that will help us save others. Because as soon as we learn to save others, and whatever we are solving as a problem for others will result in us being paid that service. Because people are willing to pay if you have an idea which solves a problem. Let's spend a lot of time thinking about how can we have ideas that will help other people, so that once we save other people, then the people will be willing to pay us. So money is never a problem. Ideas are the biggest problem. So this is where we need to invest our effort. There are three groups of people. Either you become an inventor to succeed, or you must be innovative, or you must be an investor. I generally leave entrepreneur grouping. At least you got to be one of those if you are going to make a difference in life. I'm not saying being an employee is a problem, because you will then not be looking at your own interests alone, but you'll be looking at the interests of a greater number of people, because everyone else depends on the products that comes from another person in one way or the other. Of course, we try to do as many things as possible for ourselves, but to a large extent, we depend on a lot of things that are done by others. We buy bread from so and so, we rent someone else's house, we wait for electricity to be connected. Someone has to do certain things that we can't do. So we got to find a category that suits us. So one of the categories that I always think is very easy is to be an investor, but it's not as easy as it sounds. For you to be an investor, for example, like Warren Buffett, you got to be someone who looks after his own resources. You got to start small even, because if you are not able to save your own money, you cannot invest in any venture. You need to have learned to be frugal, living within your means or living below your means, whatever you want to do. If you are an investor, you will need to live on less so that you have as much as possible to invest in other projects. What other projects are you there to invest in? The projects we said, the first two ones. The first one being the projects of the inventor. So if someone invents something and this person wants to go into business, business. You must be there to be able to provide funding. Then you and that inventor, you all become rich. But if you say, no, I am not an inventor, I'm not an innovator, and not an investor, so how then do you make it? So work hard, get the little that you can, put it aside, and look for ventures that are making money. Invest in them so that as they become more successful, you also are carried with the wind of success. Because as those seeds of success in those ventures increase or multiply, you also are taken along with that. Warren Buffett has invested in Apple. Recently, Apple has just gone up in price terms. So obviously, you need to read about where you are going to invest your money. You need to think of investments that are safe and think of investments that you fully understand and all those things that we already know. Follow the footsteps of people who are successful. Read about them. See where they're investing their money. There is plenty of information of where successful people are investing their money. We have as many formulas as possible, but actually doing it is the problem. So we want to continue to remind each other that success is not without clues. One last point. An entrepreneur is someone who's not necessarily an innovator, but he's a guy who wants to go into business and is either doing business on something that is widely known, but it's just doing it well. He's not necessarily coming up with something that is novel, but he's just fulfilling a need that is available at that particular time. Obviously, entrepreneurship and innovation move hand in hand, but it is not always the case that a successful entrepreneur has to be innovative. No, all what we have noticed is that in some instances, a successful entrepreneur is someone who takes advantage of the wins that are there. For example, when the poverty hits in China, there were sewing companies that were making garments. They had the equipment to make garments, but they realized that the demand for face masks was outstripping the capacity that was there in the country that I'm talking about, China. And they took on making face masks. Even themselves were not able to fulfill the orders. In that particular case, they were just open to opportunities. They took on the opportunities. So being an entrepreneur is not necessarily in itself requiring wisdom. It requires the openness of mind and being able to catch the wind and at the time. But obviously, one would argue that yes, it requires some kind of wisdom, because if you are not wise, you will probably not see an opportunity. It's true. But Bill Gates combined sort of innovativeness with entrepreneurship. So I wanted to make sure that we see those distinct. Entrepreneurship is not always accompanied by innovativeness. It might necessarily just come on its own. But before we finish, I want us to look at the behaviors that are necessary for us to succeed. Sometimes we fail to succeed, or people fail to succeed because they think that they have had a lot of experience and they know everything. So what can I learn from so and so? Especially if we think that we have spent so many years in school, or we have achieved certain positions at work. We feel that so and so who has not been to the same level with us, what can the person tell me? That's the beginning of our failure. Most successful people that I know, they are people who are willing to learn from others. They take everything that is on merit. They look at every situation that is presented to them on the basis of its merit. Let's take everything on merit. Let's listen, give an opportunity to someone to speak. We tend to want to listen to people who are like us, who associate with us. If we hear people who are coming from a different area, we probably not necessarily listen to them with the same enthusiasm as we would if we are listening to people who are like us. So that becomes a barrier, self-constructed barrier. Even when they recruit people in some jobs, I've noticed that people recruit people who are largely from the same territory or same country. And you find that the whole department is people either from the same country. That creates a problem, because for you to succeed, you need diversity of opinion. Or diversity is not a problem. We just need to be able to listen everything on and take it on merit. Let's be challenged. My final point is on quitting. You have heard that winners never quit, or even the reverse, quitters never win. So we should never quit. If we are convinced that this is the right thing, let's pursue it. Let's test every idea on its merit. It doesn't matter who we hear it from. It doesn't matter when we thought about it. Let's test it on merit and pursue it. Whenever you do business, whether you are investing, whether you are doing some innovative ways of doing things, do it in the way that suits you. You see, there's nothing so fulfilling as trying to achieve your own ambition as an investor or as an inventor or as an innovator, because you are trying to achieve something that you have a passion for. Because once you achieve that, you expect to be fulfilled, because it's all about you, your name, and trying to fulfill a need, because it's you who needs to be satisfied. Don't try to do it for someone else. Always do something that you want yourself, because whatever you are doing yourself, you will not be supervised. You will not have to account or explain to anyone. But if you have been asked by someone to do it according to their way, you will always be limited by what they want because it's not you, it's not yours, it's not your design, it's not your thing. So, but if you are an investor, if you are an innovator, if you are an inventor, no one will supervise you. You will work hard on it unsupervised. You don't even know whether it's a sand or it's not a sand. You don't even care because you have passion for it. It's something that is in your heart to do. So it's very important to make sure that we recognize all those behaviors, but they are not the only ones. Like I said, these are just the fundamentals that I felt are very important to consider. As we look at this COVID environment, we can succeed by either being inventors or by being innovators or by being investors. If we are not any of those three groups, we can also try to be entrepreneurs. But in any of those four categories, we need to be always mindful of the wind. Take advantage of the wind. The wind brings opportunities and the wind takes away opportunities. Because when the wind blows, it brings opportunities to us. It blows again, sweeps away the opportunities. So the opportunities are never fixed. They are not permanent. Let's not think that this COVID is going to last forever. It is there to bring money to others and is there to sweep money away from others. Here is where you have a choice. Choose where you want to be. Because seeing is not good enough because we might see something and argue and even refute its purpose and even talk about conspiracy theories about why it is present. Have you ever seen people who argue about snow? Why did the snow have to be there this weekend? And they can have a conspiracy theory. And yet others will take advantage of the snow day and they will go and take photographs and go and difference in attitude and different results. So COVID has come here and it has forced us into a different mode. Let's look for opportunities in that mode and let's milk the opportunities and take advantage of them. Like I said, there are behaviors we need to keep. One of the behaviors, it doesn't matter where you get the idea from. It might mean that the idea will come from areas that you were not used to, from people that you don't like, but as long as it brings wind in your direction, look at that idea on its merit and see how it can work for you and tailor it so that the wind can blow in your direction and it might bring success for you.